Carabao Cup champions of 2026 goes to Manchester City. They have just beaten Arsenal at Wembley 2-0. They are now the Carabao Cup champions for the season. And I must say how disappointing that was, especially from Arsenal's point of view, man. I feel like they could have done way better than they did. You know, you look at the first half. Arsenal had that first half, I'd like to believe. And I feel like they could have made most of it, but they didn't. What they decided to do was just a low block, which is something I didn't understand. You know, it's like, for whatever reason, I felt like, because I mean, okay, for first half, I didn't get that, right? But the second half, they just continued in a similar fashion. So I didn't understand now whether they don't think they're able to win in a 90 minutes. Do they want to go to extra time or what? Or maybe they wanted to push it until they get to a point where they frustrate this Manchester City side and now take advantage of that. I just don't understand, you know. But that first half, I felt like they could have done more than they did, you know, other than just low blocking. You see in Kepier, the first yellow that he gets, that was very unnecessary, because you could see even in that first half how he invited so much pressure, especially from Semenyo. After that yellow that he got, Semenyo just kept going at him. He kept going at him, hoping maybe he could get a foul. Could be a second yellow, then he marches out, you know. But luckily, obviously, he managed to hold himself in KPA, that is. And I'm hoping, okay, here Arteta, what he would definitely do is try to bring in Calafiori, you know, because in KPA, it could actually be a problem if he continues. He already has a yellow, you know, and as we know him, he can lose himself every now and then. So you might just think it won't end well for him. And I'm surprised, you know, I'm taken aback a bit when they come in KPA is still there. And for that 10-minute period in the second half, that was just all Manchester City. You know, it was like Arsenal couldn't come out of it, you know. And you see with the first goal that Manchester City manages to get through a cheeky cross, and Kepa, for whatever reason, I don't know what he was doing there. I do not understand what he was doing there. And this is one of those reasons why most managers, you know, they'll give you all the games until the semifinals. And when it gets to a final, they'll always go with their first choice keeper. This is one of those reasons. And it's something that still beats me to this day, because you look at Kepa and all the clubs that he has played for. He has played at the highest level. You know, he has played at Chelsea. You know, he has played at Real Madrid. And right now he is at Arsenal, and he's still making those rookie mistakes. That explains why he is just a second keeper. You know, it explains why he is a second keeper. And I don't think he's even, you know, an upgrade from Ramsdale, honestly, with the type of mistakes that he's making. So what he does here is that he miscalculates the cross from Cheki. You know, probably he thinks it doesn't have much power, and he thinks he can hold on to it. You know, he tries to do that, but he had too much power. You know, he just could not hold it. It slipped through his hands, and it met O'Reilly. Nico was just there. Even though Zubimendi tried to, you know, wrestle him off the ball, he couldn't. You know, he manages to head it inside the net, and just like that, Manchester City's you know, ball possession and the constant threat and the constant fight towards this low block of Manchester of Arsenal, they managed to break it. Now they're a goal up, you know. And now you're thinking maybe after they score this goal, Arsenal then will just wake up out of this thing that they're currently in, and they will try to attack more. But it looks like Manchester City just continues. Manchester City just continues. And I'd like to give the second goal, right? I saw with the second goal, I think Mateus Nunes there, he actually was quick on his feet. You know, when Bernardo hit the ball, he still went on to run to make the cross. He could have just stayed there and maybe you hoped that he would pass someone else, but he was quick on his feet to actually open up. And Bernardo did that exactly. He gave him the ball and he crosses it. And who does it find? The same man again. You know, O'Reilly is there and he heads it home. This time it's 2-0. There is nothing that, you know, Arsenal can do. And I must say that Mikel Arteta has to take the blame here. Mikel Arteta has to take the blame. You know, he saw all that pressure that kept on coming to his team. He could have made, you know, changes as early as possible. You know, but he just kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when they were 2-0 down, that's when he decides to now bring in Calafiori. Arsenal was just nowhere to be to be seen in today's game. Even in the second half, they only had but 2 chances, if I can recall. One clear-cut chance they had was from Madueke, right? Yeah, there was a Madueke chance, and there was also a Gabriel Jesus header. Remember that header? Could have actually went in, that header, but maybe it wasn't Arsenal's day, because for whatever reason the ball hit the post and it came out. But had that goal went in, that was in the 87th minute. Had that goal went in, this game could have probably been different. Probably Arsenal could have used that to build whatever pressure they would have, bringing it to Manchester City, and maybe they would have folded and they would have scored a second goal. And shout out to Bernardo Silva, man. How amazing that guy was, both defensively and in attack. He would constantly pierce through that midfield and make those passes. He would also defend, and one of the parts where I remember that he defended well was against Madueke. Madueke had a good chance there, but he was there to just put in that block. And this is something that you want towards a captain, someone that leads your team. And that was Cheeky as well. How amazing he was that second half. Even in the first half, man, he ran the show. All of the other players, though, in the first half, they seemed very quiet. But in the second half, Cheeky was just running that show. He just kept going at them. He kept beating his men, him and Doku. My goodness, what wonderful players they are. And you always see people maybe not rating Doku as much, because of he is just a dribbler. He's strong. He knows how to protect the ball. But when numbers are concerned, he just leaves a lot to be desired. He's one of those players that would probably end a season with 6 assists and 5 goals. But if you look closely at him, how much of a threat he is, and you look at the many players that he attracts to him, you can see, how much that benefits this Manchester City side. You can see how much that benefits this Manchester City side. Even against Real Madrid, you saw just how much of a nuisance he was. In today's game too, was the same thing. He'd bring at least 2-3 players to him. And the beauty of it as well is that O'Brien as well, he's tall just like Haaland. So a lot of the time, the likes of Saliba and Gabriel don't really care about Haaland and leaving O'Brien there. When you see O'Brien now being defended by someone like Zubimendi, someone who he is taller than, you already understand who's going to win that aerial battle. And today was just one of those days. And Semenyo as well, he held his own there. And I guess that's it, man. Arsenal failed to win. Arsenal has failed to win their first trophy this season. The quadruple was on, of course, but City has managed to crush it. Now, what remains for this Arsenal side, of course, is the Premier League, which they are a few points ahead. They also have a chance in the FA Cup. Their next team that they'll be playing against isn't really that good of a team, so they should really go through to the semi-finals there. They also have the Champions League, which they have Sporting, so I think they could really push themselves harder. But you look at how they've lost against this Manchester City side, you start thinking about when they start playing against Atletico or Barcelona. Of course, they've played Atletico and, they've managed that one, but they were at home. What about Barcelona? Then maybe you start thinking twice about this Arsenal side, if really they have it in them to go on to win, the other trophies that they're involved in. Because if you look at today's game, I don't think they are. Honestly, I don't think they are. They were not there today, and this is a very important trophy. They get this one, and it helps them build. It helps them build going forward. And as you would see, they were a no-show, and that means that Manchester City are the Carabao Cup champions. They've won this trophy 6 times under Pep Guardiola's reign. And I guess this is something they can use maybe to wipe their tears, because it looks like this season is going to be a bit difficult for them. They might not, get the league. They didn't get the Champions League. Of course, they've been knocked out by Real Madrid, which was 5-1. And now they'll be challenging Liverpool. Liverpool, really, they aren't that good. So I would think that Manchester City has that one under wraps. But then Liverpool have also lost twice this season, home and away against this Manchester City side. They might have to make sure that they win that game just for pride. You can't lose 4 times against Manchester City. That does not make any sense at all. So it is what it is. Arsenal, they lose their a first chance to a trophy this season, and it is Manchester City that has that. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave in your comment on the comment section. Arsenal fans, please look away. Thank you. Bye-bye.